Incident 1. On December 24, 2016, in a quiet suburb of Chicago, 34-year-old Daniel Harper was preparing his home for Christmas Eve. The evening was calm, and Daniel had spent hours decorating his living room for the holiday. A large artificial Christmas tree stood near the window, covered in lights and ornaments. The tree was powered by an old extension cord that had been reused every Christmas for years. Outside, temperatures dropped sharply as snow began to fall, sealing the house tightly shut. As night approached, the lights on the tree began to flicker slightly. Daniel noticed it briefly but assumed it was a minor electrical issue. He returned to the kitchen to finish preparing dinner. Moments later, a faint burning smell started spreading through the living room. The extension cord had begun overheating beneath the dry synthetic branches. Suddenly, flames ignited at the base of the tree and climbed upward within seconds. Daniel rushed back and tried to pull the burning tree away from the wall. Thick smoke rapidly filled the room, making it difficult to breathe or see. Disoriented and coughing, Daniel collapsed near the front door. Neighbors noticed smoke coming from the house and called emergency services. Firefighters arrived quickly and forced their way inside. Daniel was found unresponsive due to severe smoke inhalation. He was pronounced dead at the scene, turning a Christmas celebration into a fatal tragedy. Incident 2. On December 26, 2008, in Covina, California, a family gathered inside a suburban home to celebrate Christmas night. The house was filled with relatives exchanging gifts and sharing food after a long holiday day. Among them was 45-year-old Bruce Pardo, who arrived late, dressed in a Santa Claus costume. At first, nothing about his entrance seemed unusual to the people inside. Moments earlier, he had parked his car quietly on the street outside the house. Hidden beneath the costume was a homemade flamethrower and multiple firearms. As greetings began, Pardo stepped fully into the living room. Suddenly, he opened fire without warning, sending people scrambling in panic. He then sprayed flames across the room, igniting furniture and Christmas decorations. The house caught fire rapidly, trapping several people inside. Screams were drowned out by smoke, heat, and collapsing structures. Neighbors heard explosions and saw flames shooting from the windows. Emergency calls flooded in as the fire spread uncontrollably. Firefighters arrived but were initially unable to enter due to intense heat. Inside, 9 people lost their lives from gunshot wounds and fire. Pardo fled the scene and later died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Investigators confirmed the attack was planned and executed deliberately on Christmas. The incident remains one of the deadliest Christmas-related family tragedies in U.S. history. Incident 3. On December 23, 2019, in Melbourne, Australia, 37-year-old mother of 2 Natasha Evans was preparing her home for Christmas. The afternoon was spent untangling lights and setting up decorations in the living room. A ladder was placed beneath the ceiling to reach a string of lights near the top corner. Natasha had used the same ladder many times without incident. The house was quiet, with Christmas music playing softly in the background. As she climbed higher, she leaned sideways to reach one final hook. The ladder shifted slightly on the smooth floor. She paused, then stretched a little further instead of climbing down. In that moment, the ladder slipped out from under her. Natasha fell backward, striking her head on the tiled floor. The impact rendered her unconscious almost immediately. She lay motionless as the music continued to play. Hours later, her partner returned home and found her on the floor. Emergency services were called and arrived quickly. Paramedics attempted resuscitation at the scene. She was transported to the hospital in critical condition. Doctors confirmed severe traumatic brain injury. Natasha later died from her injuries, days before Christmas Day. Incident 4. On December 22, 2014, in Toronto, Canada, 52-year-old Mark Sullivan was decorating the exterior of his home for Christmas. Snow had fallen overnight, leaving the driveway and lawn damp and partially frozen. Mark was known for elaborate holiday displays and worked alone that afternoon. He used a metal ladder to hang string lights along the roofline. The lights were connected to an older outdoor extension cable. As daylight faded, temperatures dropped below freezing. Mark climbed higher to secure the final section near the gutter. His gloves were damp from melting snow. While adjusting the lights, the exposed wiring brushed against the ladder. Electric current traveled through the wet metal instantly. Mark's body stiffened as he lost control and balance. He fell backward from the ladder onto the concrete driveway. The lights remained on as his body lay motionless below. A neighbor noticed the ladder overturned and rushed over. Emergency services were called within minutes. Paramedics arrived and cut power to the house. Mark was found in cardiac arrest caused by electrocution. He was pronounced dead at the scene, just days before Christmas. Incident 5. On December 24, 2020, in London, England, 68-year-old Margaret Collins was spending Christmas Eve at home alone. Her family planned to visit the next morning after travel restrictions delayed their plans. Margaret relied on an electric space heater to keep her small living room warm. The heater was placed close to a real Christmas tree decorated earlier that day. Dry pine needles had begun falling onto the carpet beneath the branches. Outside, cold air pushed temperatures near freezing. As night fell, Margaret settled into her chair and turned the heater to its highest setting. She soon fell asleep while watching television. Unnoticed, heat from the unit dried the lower branches even further. One branch brushed against the heater's metal grill. Moments later, the tree ignited and flames spread rapidly upward. Smoke filled the room as the fire reached nearby curtains. Margaret awoke coughing and attempted to stand. She collapsed before reaching the hallway. Neighbors noticed smoke coming from the windows and called emergency services. Firefighters arrived and extinguished the fire within minutes. Margaret was found unconscious from smoke inhalation. She was pronounced dead at the scene, turning Christmas Eve into a fatal accident.